sir. And thank you for inviting me to this so important forum, Asia Security Conference. And I would like to give a Chinese perspective in my personal capacity as a Chinese scholar. And the title, and let me just mention, and this is a co-authored paper, and with my PhD student from Nepal, Mr. Rupak, and but my presentation here and a little bit different from our written paper. The title, and I changed a little bit, and give a question. This is maybe a big question, and it's a new relationship between the two superpowers, two emerging power, or use Professor Barry Buson's argument, and emerging great powers likely. And I think there are many missing and on neglecting developments. And the first one, and you mentioned, and just the first speaker mentioned, and the Chinese President Xi Jinping last year visited India, and India Prime Minister also will visit China soon. And you not only just focus on U.S. President Barack Obama's visit to India, but should focus on the mutual exchange between China and India among leaders. And also, a very interesting topic and mentioned, and in Europe, the Munich Security Conference, the U.S. State Secretary John Kerry, and the panel, the topic was about how to deal with a disordered world. And this is a very interesting topic, and I think this is about Asia regional order or regional disorder. So, and my first point is, it is highly possible a new world disorder if the power politics continues to be played in Asia. So yesterday and today, and and we have already listened to too many power politics arguments, and with such things, and I have heard and in elsewhere in the world, including China, and so as China continue to explore new relationship with the U.S. And just last week, and both Washington D.C. and Beijing declared, and Chinese President Xi Jinping and our president will visit the United States in this September. And last November at the APEC summit, and Barack Obama president visited Beijing, and so successfully, just in terms of so many things, and new things and old things. So, and not only bilateral but also multilateral at the regional and the global levels. And I think with China and India as new emerging powers, new powers need new seekings to reframe the relationship. Let me talk about China's new foreign policy. And I'm not a South Asia regional expert. Also, I'm not an India expert. But I have been watching developments in India and South Asia. I visited almost all South Asian nations, including Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Nepal, and others. So, and let me say, and the Chinese foreign policy principles, doctrines are in transition. And the transition to adapt to the new situations in the world, in the region, and also in Chinese domestic political economy. And China's existing foreign policy, and as you have witnessed and will continue, particularly the non-interference principle, and will still valid in the future. And last year, China remembered the peaceful coexistence 5 principles in Beijing, and the India leaders and other leaders, political leaders, and joined the meeting. And but under the new political leadership in Beijing, Chinese foreign policy is in a great transformation. some prominent changes, and let me just point out. The first, for example, China searches for partners and friends, and the last year, and China organized in Beijing, and the Chinese government organized the national foreign policy conference, and after China's neighborhood conference in 2003, in 2013, 1 year ago. And second, China builds a number of communities in economy, regional communities, sub-regional communities, in economy and even in security, regionally and globally. And you mentioned so many and the Chinese initiatives. And China initiates a number of new international financial institutions to boost Asia regional and global economic development growth. This is a target, this is a common target and set by the G20 and other international organizations. And growth does matters for the world economy, for the recovery of world economy after the 5 years, 6 years financial crisis. And China seeks the new relationship with a number of great powers, particularly the United States. And in many Chinese views, we still think the United States is number one great power, and largely it is still the hegemon, and it is still the world leader. And and the Chinese Vice Premier Wang Yang last year and gave a speech about Chinese attitude toward the United States global leadership. China acknowledges this leadership, and China has no intention and no capability in the future to challenge this existing order and the U.S. and the primacy in the world. And finally, China takes the lead in transforming the existing multilateral institutions, particularly the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, and many others. So, however, refer to the China's relationship with India, and I think the most important thing in the changes of Chinese foreign policy is about great power relationship. So let me just copy the U.S. Former President Clinton's campaign and language, and it is the new relationship between the great powers, stupid. And so the essence and the core of China's new foreign policy is about the new relations between and among great powers, the established and the emerged. China conducts and this is the official language and the great power or great country. And let me say, and in Chinese official translations, and we are still refusing to use great power, a power. We still use great country, and there is not a great power translation officially, and we still use great country diplomacy. 大国外交, 大国 means not a great power, but a great country. So not only the new relationship with the United States, but also China, India, China, Brazil, China, Russia, and China as others emerging powers, as I mentioned. Let me address the new relationship with India and in a future-oriented way. And I think there are 3 C's. Let me address. The first thing is the coexistence peacefully and permanently, as I mentioned and stressed, to seek mutually acceptable management of the disputes and differences. And everybody in this room and elsewhere in these 2 countries know, in this world, know disputes and differences between China and India. And the second thing is common development. This is a key theory, doctrine in Chinese foreign policy in the past 3 decades, and particularly for the next decade, China seeks common development. Yes, how to understand the common development. But I think this common development is well applicable to China-India relationship. And yesterday, we talked about the regional connectivity, and so the connectivity. This is a key concept, I think. And in 1970s and 1980s, and U.S. scholars in international relations like Professor Joseph Nye and Robert Cohen and coined the concept the interdependence. And China introduced the concept in late 1980s and 1990s. So I think the connectivity is more important, and there is interdependence, and theoretically, academically, and also in strategic studies. So the third thing is cooperation, of course. So and multilateral cooperation, particularly the new frameworks, multilateral framework like G20, BRICS, SCO, SAARC, AIIB, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, BCIM, ASEA, UN Climate Change Negotiation Process, WTO, ASEA, and let me just stress, China will host the G20 summit next year, and India is a member of the G20. So, and China and India can cooperate within the G20 framework. And this year, ASEA will finish its sub-regional security. The last thing is the concept of two powers. And let me just mention, and we have finished. I joined an international research group, and organized by Frankfurt Peace Research Institute by Professor Harald Moila, and on 21st century concept of powers. So I use this framework to talk about how solve the China-India differences and disputes by introducing concept of powers, bilaterally and multilaterally. So, and a very interesting and a very important topic is about how to have a concerted relations between the two countries in the maritime areas. So not only the Indo-Pacific and also the Asia Pacific. And let me talk about the Asia solutions to Asia issues. Last year in Shanghai and the CICA summit, and President Xi Jinping proposed Asia solutions to Asia issues. Some interpreted Xi Jinping's argument as China's Monroe Doctrine. This is so wrong, and this is Xi Jinping's new idea, and to update China's new security conception, and this according to regionalism, security cooperation. So question is China-India considered likely to lead concerted in Asia international relations? So and how to build Asia concept of powers? And I think we have already laid some foundations. Maybe the nascent foundations. For example, and the SCO can be a model of the concert, and to manage the multipolar Asia, and also the some great power cooperation, like recently and this month in Beijing, the RIC, the trilateral meeting at the foreign minister level happened, and also the Chinese-U.S. relations is a key to promote a concerted international relations in Asia. And also Chinese relations with a number of small countries, medium countries, middle powers, so important. And also, China continue to build the regional support, the regional blocs, and ASEAN's regional community and the China support. The next question is, does China seize the opportunity provided by China-initiated international institutions to transform the relationship with India? I think, and let me just quote a very interesting title. This is a British-European debate because of Professor Barry Boozin here, and Dr. Gerard Siegel from IISS and wrote a very interesting topic. Does China matter? And 5 years later, and a group of British scholars remembered him and used the same title to understand today's China. And so I think my personal argument is Chinese and China does matter. India doesn't. China does matter. India does matter. So the two countries, the two powers, the two giants, and do matter. And so China was open and free, rules-based, and liberal global world order. And as China is a new trading nation, India also a new trading nation, and China emerged as a major source, a new major source, emerging source of global FDI. This is and everywhere now Chinese investment, and the Chinese contribution to regional and global public goods as a response to the danger of Asia and the world disorder. So this is a good thing. This is a good thing. And 30 years later, since the beginning of the Chinese opening up at economic reform towards the market economy, China began to largely, contribute to international global public goods, as maybe the United States, and in terms of the contribution to public goods, and the United States declines, but China and let China and contribute contribute to the public goods, not challenge the existing order, because China also needs a liberal, free, rules-based world order. Let me conclude, and my conclusion and just borrow the Chinese framework or concept of a new type of international relations. And in terms of dealing with big power relations, the Chinese proposal or concept is a new model or new type of great power or great country relationship. And China China uses this framework to address the import and the transformation of Chinese-American relations. So, my argument is let this framework apply to the Chinese-India relationship. So, I think that yesterday, the keynote speaker from the Indian Navy mentioned the Asia century, the concept. In China, and so many people are also interested in the Asia century conception, and I think the Asia century, and you also should share with my argument, and this is the India-Chinese relationship is the key. And so if the two emerging great powers failed to create the new models of bilateral relationship, so some tragedies, and the U.S. Professor Meir Scheimer's point of view, and tragedy, great power tragedy, and some Thucydides, and this very old European conception theory, Thucydides and traps, and would happen. So to stop the process of coexist, co-rise, common development, and the concept of powers. So I think the Chinese, U.S. and this new framework China proposed may be not realized quickly and effectively as our Chinese unilaterally and ideally expected. But China-India may be managed successfully by the framework. I very much hope. I also very much propose to such a distinguished audience. So let China and India practice to be a model of a new relationship. We do something and to have a model to other great powers. This is still a multipolar world, and will be a multipolar world, I believe. And so let me stop here. And facing your questions, even thorny questions, I would like to have. Thank you so much.